Hey Archie, welcome to Vivid ADM Days, Virtual Days Day 1.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great.
Awesome. So great session. I think there is a lot of confusion with Agile DevOps as we go into enterprises, big companies, especially trying to scale it. And I know Tali addressed this a little bit. So that's definitely something I think I'd like to dive into. But first, is there anything you guys want to add before we jump into the questions? Hey, Tali.
I see Tali comes on, so I'll let Tali go first if she wants. There you go.
Hey, Tali.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. So, it's a complicated thing, right? And I always say it's a journey. It's not like, one transformation and it's over. It's all about, we've started this journey like 3 or even 4 years ago. And we're still in that journey because, you do stuff, you fail. What you don't want to do is start everything all over again. What you want to do is learn from what you did, fix whatever you did, and move on. And, my biggest takeaway from journey that again is still going on for us is continuous improvement and the continuous, learning and just constantly be in some kind of a movement here. It's not easy. We've done a lot of changes around. It's not just the technology and the tools that are in the process, but it's actually cultural. A lot of cultural changes that we've done. And there's one sentence that I like that. If you want to change the culture of the organization, culture is like the shadow of the organization. If you want to change the culture, then you need to change the organization. So we here talked a lot about the technology at what surrounds us and how can we get technology to work for us. But it's a lot that has to do with the organization itself, with the culture, with some of the skills of the people, with symbolic cultural things that we're doing. Again, I'll talk about it in the DevOps journey session as much as I could talk. Technology is part of it, but it's also technology, people, and the processes that you put to enforce the changes. We use Octane internally. We use actually all of our tools internally, so we have the benefit to, drink our own champagne. So all of the automation tools and all of the governance tools. So we have a lot of, experience doing it ourselves, and that helps us to address customers' pain as well, and give us a benefit to do so. What I would say that it's also about, having fun and being able to capture within those KPIs and metrics the things that you're improving. And by that, also with your management, get them to see these so you can gain more power to doing more changes even. So it's also about the buy-in that you get from your surrounding and the level of engagement that you're getting from your environment. And here I think the automation tools can really help because they can really capture the improvement and capture the positive things that are happening. And with that, I think I'm done. Thank you.
Awesome. Archie, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, the thing that fascinates me about this industry is that just when we think we've solved all the challenges or we've squeezed the sponge as far as we can when it comes to technology, something else completely opens up, right? I mean, if you just take like automation, for example, we've been in the automation space for, well over 20 years. And if you kind of think about that, you would think that we'd be able to accomplish all the things that we needed to accomplish. Well, we were kind of reaching, like I said in the presentation, that tipping point of the maximum effectiveness of automation today. And then all of a sudden you open up this whole new world of machine learning and AI, and it's like we're just getting started again. So it's like we have so much more to go, and it's just amazing the potential and the possibility, not across just the automation space, but even with the things that Tali's portfolio is doing with her AI initiatives. And so I feel like we're almost like kids in a candy store. We're just now getting started with a new journey, and we have a bright future ahead of us. And the game's going to change itself over and over again. So that's the thing that just fascinates me, and just happy to be part of this community. Happy to have people like Vivit, helping us take that message and explore this new frontier together.
Awesome stuff. So we actually have some questions. Let's get to our first question, and let's see what you think. First question is, what tips would you suggest to help convince management that working towards enterprise DevOps is worth the investment?
I think I'll pass that to Tali because it's a DevOps one, and she's our DevOps expert for sure.
Yeah.
We both are, Archie. I think that it's a good point because in a lot of cases we see kind of a gap between, oh my God, I got freezed in a bad picture.
You unfroze. I just unfroze you. I think you unfroze now. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, it's a very good question because what we see is sometimes a gap between the business and the actual execution layer. So what is important is to make sure they're constantly connected. So, it doesn't matter in which layer you are in the organization. It's very important to ask the question of the business people, what is important? What are the business initiatives that are important to the organization? And once you know that, once you understand it, then, the ROI that you'll show will be directly tuned and fine-tuned to that. So you need to get the engagement of your management. So I always say, but by the way, it's true for life, right? Know exactly what triggers them, what is important to them, and then make sure that whatever you do in DevOps accelerate the value that they're talking about. So, for example, if you have a problem with quality, and we know that your customers are not happy with some of the level of the quality of your product, so you need to be able to expose the KPIs and ROIs that will show improvement in what you're doing, as part of the practice of DevOps. So make sure to expose these KPIs and show the improvements. And it can be small steps. It can be it will grow more and more, but constantly be connected to your management, to your business, to the stakeholders, and come up with this data, because I said it before, data is power. We can talk about feelings, and we feel that it's good for the organization, we feel that it's good, it's doing good, but again, it will hold a very short period of time. At the end of the day, what we want to show is evidence that we're actually moving the right direction, and show this and find the quick wins that you can share with the stakeholders that will show that you're in the right direction. And again, some of them can be quality indicators, but some of them should be quantified, like quantity indicators, like numbers, like escaping defects that have gone down, the fact that we fix defect earlier in the life cycle, which saves us a lot of cost afterwards. And again, this is quality. We can talk about velocity. We can talk about other things as well. But I can, what I would say is find what matters in the organization and make sure to fine tune everything you do, at least in the beginning, towards that. I would say to start small, right? Start with, and in most organizations you start in the digital teams, but it's most of the organization are in some kind of a hybrid mode. So you start with an isolated space as much as you can, so you can show the real value.
Great. Archie, anything you want to add to that before we get to the next question? Couldn't hear you, Archie. I don't know if you were on mute. All right. We'll get right back to you. Archie, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So Archie, there's something wrong with your audio. We can't hear you for some reason. But we'll get to the next question and get right back to you. So the next question is, how many years do you think we are from smart testing? I.e. autonomous testing, machine learning, AI. This is a question I get asked all the time, being vendors that actually specialize in tools. Is this a reality?
Hey, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Archie.
All
awesome.
Right, sorry.
Cool,
For some reason, I hit mute.
Okay.
Anyways, apologies for that. So it's a very good question, and yeah. I think we're here. When it comes to AI and machine learning and having a technology that can identify objects and share the learning of those objects with the wider community, we've got that technology that just now is, I think it was just released about a week ago, starting with mobile. But I would say we're probably about 12 to 18 months away from really having a situation in which the second a developer makes a change, tracking that change and understanding what's happening, and then taking that and creating tests automatically based on whatever learning that we have across all the ALM data that we have. That's why the initiative that I have with AI and the initiative that Tali has with AI, it's going to meet in the middle there. So ultimately, the goal would be to understand what that developer did, how that developer's previous defect rates were looking. Do we need to make a test? Do we need to create a test for this one developer who every time they check in code never has an issue? And then we also want to correlate that with what's happening in the real world. What are the transactions that are actually being used by real users? And let's start with those tests, right? So I think we're about 12 to 18 months away, but then again, once we crack the code of a specific technology, the learning is fairly exponential. So, it may come sooner, but identifying objects in terms of natural language processing, in terms of being able to say, hey, that object there, I've seen that a few times. Here's a variant of that. That's here today. And it's, like I said, it's pretty exciting. And once we connect all those dots, we will start getting into the place where we are truly doing smarter automation.
Absolutely. Talia, any thoughts?
No, I think you have the best expert.
All right, cool. So interesting. I love this concept of big data at the team level almost, where a developer does something like every Friday checks in bad code. So when that developer checks in code, maybe you highlight that, hey, maybe this is a priority we need to look at. But I know some folks have mentioned that may be punitive. So any thoughts around how to use this data in a way that actually enhances the team and not actually oppresses them in a way?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't fix what you can't measure. So once you start measuring things, then you can start looking at things. So, some people may say it might be punitive, but then that presents an opportunity for us to, understand why is that developer, why is that team, or why is that group having challenges. So, I definitely think that, the footprint that we have with our portfolio and the massive amount of data that we have, if we're not putting it to good use for the benefit of our customers, then that's just a huge waste, right? There's so much information we can tell. I mean, I just got something from my utility, and they basically figured out, how many people live here, what the general demographics are just from looking at our electricity usage. So, if we can understand, the hundreds of thousands of data points that we generate from not only just ALM, but from functional testing and from performance testing, and correlating that, I mean, we'd be kind of, I don't want to say the word. I guess we would be dumb if we didn't sort of enable our customers to leverage that. So, that's really the end game, is the consistent improvement of what's happening in real time. Because, to your question that you asked earlier, how do we convince our customers or our manager to start embracing DevOps? The advances of technology have leveled the playing field for everybody. Right. And the only people that are going to succeed, or the only organizations that are going to succeed, are the ones that can respond to the market demands faster. And if you can't understand what's happening in real time and then put something back into the system smartly, you're going to start falling behind. So, that's really the end game of this whole thing.
Very cool. So next question. And question is, In a company which is heavily invested in the Microsoft developer ecosystem, i.e. Visual Studio, TFS, how can Octane fit in and help with DevOps and the CI journey? Another question I get asked a lot is how tools integrate with Microsoft. So any thoughts on that, either Tali or Archie?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Octane side, and then we can have Archie talk about the automation side and the integration that we're having there. But as I said, in the session, we've designed Octane to be as open, as integrate as possible to embrace, because we know that every time we go to organizations, there's always something there. And because it started in the teams level, organization kind of gave the flexibility. So it's not just Azure DevOps, we see others. And what's important, because, it's like islands of data, what we want to do with Octane governance layer on top. And we have released this year, what we call Micro Focus Connect, that basically has over 25 different connectors, including Azure DevOps to Octane. So it basically syncs the data from Azure DevOps pipeline and issues, and also backlog to Octane. So the data is traced and tracked, and then all of the analytics and dashboards and traceability is kept there. So to your question, through MF Connect, by the way, which is available to the community, so it can be downloaded. You have free connectors to use with Octane. And again, it's not just Azure DevOps. We have many more connectors to Jira and other tools. But yeah, we will continue to invest heavily in increasing the availability of connectors to any request that we have for Octane to integrate.
Awesome. Anyway, I think we have our first wardrobe change. We have Archie.
Had to wear my Vivid beanie for you.
Nice.
You
That's
see?
Awesome. Very cool.
It just to amplify on top of what Tali had said in terms of a Microsoft shop or a Microsoft environment. From the tools that we have, from the ability to do functional automation, performance testing. A Microsoft practitioner doesn't have to leave any one of their IDEs. They can do everything they can right from there. Including scaling up both execution and performance tests within Azure, leveraging their whatever credits or whatever spend they have with Microsoft. So, definitely some value to be added there, and especially since kind of Microsoft exited some of the performance testing business and some of the automation tools that were native to the environment. Now there's even more reason for a Micro Focus user to take advantage of our stuff in a Microsoft environment. And saying Micro Focus and Microsoft in one sentence is fairly difficult, but pretty good at it right now.
Very cool. All right, I think this is going to probably be one of our last questions. And it's 1 second, it just changed on me. Let's go to the slide. All right, the question is, what is your opinion about the last Magic Quadrant for software test automation by Gartner, which it was shown for the US that Micro Focus became a challenger rather than a leader? I guess is the main question.
Yeah, it's a good question. It just came out, and obviously we aren't. We'd love to be still a leader in there, but I don't think that changes anything that we were doing regardless. We set upon this new strategy of turning the portfolio around about 18 months ago, and so far, the response from the market and the customer base has been very positive. The introduction of AI, the ability of doing functional and performance testing from the IDE, one of the things that we take from Gartner in terms of the positives is that they said that we can be sort of everything to everybody within the enterprise. So, I respect Gartner. I appreciate the input, and we'll take that to heart. But it doesn't necessarily change anything that we were doing. And to be honest, without divulging too much information about our numbers and our financial results, because they're not public yet, this was a very good year for us in terms of the functional and the performance testing tool, in terms of ADM overall as well. So, it's something that we'll be keeping an eye on. We'll be looking at how it can impact our strategy. But we're very optimistic. We're very excited about what we have, and there's literally no technology that we cannot support. There's no environment that we cannot support. And, in terms of the amount of scale that we can generate within an organization, I'd be hard pressed to find someone who could do anything bigger than us in terms of scale. So, we're going to continue to stay the course. We're happy with our execution, and would love to talk to any customer or any community member that feels that this is too concerning for their environment, that they need to talk to somebody about it, and we can absolutely go over each one of the points in some more detail.
All right, so that's all the questions we have.